Ethan always said living with a roommate would make life easier, but nothing prepared me for how much space one person could take in my thoughts without even trying. Liam and I had been sharing the apartment for almost 8 months, long enough to know each other's habits, quirks, and the little rhythms that made our lives fit together in a strangely comfortable way. He was the kind of guy who filled a room just by walking into it laid back, warm, always laughing at something, even if it was just his own joke. I wasn't like that. I was quieter, the type who preferred planning over spontaneity, lists over chaos. Somehow, though, we balanced each other out. Or, at least, that's what I kept telling myself. Most nights, we'd cross paths in the kitchen, me heating leftovers or prepping lunch for the next day while he came in from a late run or a gym session, rambling about something funny he'd heard or someone he bumped into. And even though we weren't close in the beginning, slowly those casual conversations became part of the routine, so much so that when they didn't happen, I noticed. Mark, my boyfriend, used to fill that space. We'd been together for almost 2 years, and for a long time it felt real, stable, like something worth working for even with a long distance. But lately, the calls were shorter, the texts came slower, and whenever I tried to bring up anything meaningful, the conversation slipped through his fingers like it didn't matter. I tried not to overthink it, but it was getting harder. That evening, I was making tea when I heard the bathroom door open and Liam's voice echo down the hallway, loud enough to make me jump. "Ethan, hey, Ethan. I forgot my towel. Can you grab one?" I blinked at the sound. It wasn't unusual for him to forget things. He had a habit of leaving keys, headphones, or his wallet in random places, but something about the way he called me made my chest tighten unexpectedly. Maybe it was the trust in his voice, or maybe it was how casual he sounded asking for help, like it was the most normal thing in the world. "Yeah, hold on." I called back, forcing my voice to sound steady as I walked to the laundry shelf where clean towels were stacked. Picking one up felt oddly significant. Ridiculous, I told myself. He's your roommate. This is normal. Still, my palms felt warm as I walked toward the bathroom door. The steam seeped out from the crack under it, and I felt a nervous flutter that made no sense. I lifted my hand and knocked softly. Got it. The door opened just a sliver, only enough for his hand to reach out. No visuals, nothing inappropriate, just a moment so small it shouldn't have meant anything. But the tone in his voice when he said, "You're a lifesaver, man," hit me deeper than it should have. His fingers brushed the towel as he took it, and I felt a weird jolt of awareness, the kind you get when something unexpected shifts inside you. I stepped back quickly. No problem. The door closed, and I stood there like an idiot for a second before turning away. Why did that feel strange? It wasn't like anything happened. It was nothing, totally normal. But the way my heart beat a little faster told a different story, one I didn't want to read. Back in my room, I messaged Mark a simple, "How's your day going?" It took him nearly half an hour to respond, and even then, it was just, "Busy. Talk later. Talk later." The words felt familiar, almost rehearsed. I stared at them and wondered when exactly things had changed between us. At what point had I stopped being part of his day? A soft knock on my door pulled me out of my thoughts. "Hey," Liam said when I opened it a little. His hair was still damp, and he looked relaxed in that effortless way that always made me slightly envious. "Thanks again for the towel, seriously." "It was nothing," I said, hoping my voice didn't sound as tight as I felt. He smiled, warm, easy, genuine. "Still, I appreciate it." For a moment, neither of us said anything. It wasn't uncomfortable, but it wasn't normal either. There was a quietness in the air, a kind of unspoken acknowledgement that the tiny moment earlier had left some sort of ripple, even if we both pretended not to notice. "Well, good night," I said. "Night, Ethan." When I closed the door, I leaned back against it, exhaling a breath I didn't know I had been holding. I didn't understand why that small interaction stuck with me, why it replayed in my mind like it meant something. Maybe it didn't. Maybe I was imagining it. But deep down, a small voice whispered that something had shifted, subtly, quietly, but undeniably. And I wasn't sure how to feel about it. The next few days, I kept telling myself I had imagined the whole thing. A towel was just a towel, and Liam asking for help wasn't some hidden confession or moment of secret meaning. But no matter how much I tried to push it away, something had changed, not in what happened, but in how I reacted to it. And apparently, I wasn't the only one who felt the shift, because Liam started acting different, not in an obvious way. He didn't suddenly become more forward or more attentive. It was subtle, almost unintentional, the way he lingered in conversations a little longer. The way he asked how my day was going with genuine interest. The way he sat near me on the couch when we watched TV instead of choosing the other end. All small things, harmless things, things I would never have noticed before. But now, every gesture felt like it carried a second meaning I couldn't identify. One evening, when I came home from work, I found him in the kitchen cooking pasta. He looked up as soon as I entered, his face brightening with that easy smile of his. "Perfect timing," he said. "I made extra. You want some?" Normally, I kept to my own meals, my own schedule, my own space. But something in me softened, and before I knew it, I was sitting at the counter while he plated 2 servings like it was the most natural thing in the world. We ate and talked about work, about random things that didn't matter but somehow felt important anyway. The longer we talked, the more I realized how long it had been since someone listened to me without rushing, without checking their phone, without drifting away mid-sentence. Mark used to be that person. But the version of him I remembered felt far away now. After dinner, Liam leaned back in his chair and sighed dramatically. "So, I have a confession," he said. I raised an eyebrow. "That sounds ominous." "I reheated last night's leftovers without asking." He winced playfully. I felt guilty all day. I laughed despite myself. "You can eat anything in the fridge." "I don't care." He grinned, and for a moment, the air between us felt light, comfortable. But under that ease was something else, something neither of us acknowledged out loud. Later that night, while we were both in the living room, he asked about Mark. It caught me off guard. "So, how are you guys?" Liam asked carefully, like he knew the answer already, but wasn't sure if he had the right to ask. I hesitated. "We're okay." He looked at me, not with judgment, not with pity, but with a quiet understanding I hadn't earned from him but desperately needed. "You don't have to say you're okay if you're not." That simple sentence hit harder than I expected. I stared ahead at the muted TV screen, feeling a weight press against my chest. "It's just complicated," I admitted. "Lately he's always busy. I don't want to pressure him, but sometimes it feels like I'm holding everything together by myself." Liam was silent for a moment, and when he spoke again, his voice was softer. "That sounds lonely." I swallowed. "It is." There was a long pause, not awkward, but heavy with honesty. Liam shifted closer, not touching, not crossing any line, just sitting in a way that made his presence feel warm and steady beside me. "You shouldn't have to feel that way," he said, "especially with someone who's supposed to care." My breath caught. I didn't know what to reply. For the next week, our evenings followed the same pattern, talking, sharing small moments, slowly inviting each other into our personal worlds without ever naming what was happening between us. Sometimes I'd find him waiting for me in the living room when I got home, or he'd show up at my door asking if I wanted to order takeout. It wasn't deliberate. It wasn't planned. It just kept happening. Then came the night everything shifted again. I was sitting alone in the living room, scrolling aimlessly through my phone. Mark had canceled another call with a short apology that sounded more like an obligation than affection. The apartment felt unusually quiet, and for the first time in a long time, I felt genuinely alone. Liam walked in, noticed my expression, and sat beside me without saying anything. His presence was grounding, calm. After a moment, he asked gently, "Rough night?" I nodded, not trusting my voice. He didn't push, didn't prod. He just stayed there, giving me space while still being close enough to let me know I wasn't alone. When I finally spoke, my voice cracked slightly. "Do you ever feel like you're giving more than you get?" Liam turned toward me, his expression serious now. "Yeah. I know that feeling." Our eyes met, and something unspoken passed between us, something fragile, something dangerous, something I didn't understand but couldn't ignore. It wasn't physical. It didn't need to be. The emotion alone felt strong enough to tilt the room. "You deserve someone who shows up," he said quietly. I felt the truth of it settle in my chest, warm and terrifying at the same time. I didn't respond. I couldn't. The moment felt too delicate to touch. We sat there in silence, the kind that said more than any words could. And when Liam finally stood and wished me good night, I didn't move for a long time. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was standing on the edge of something I wasn't ready to name, something neither of us could take back. The morning after that quiet, heavy moment in the living room, I woke up with a knot in my stomach. I couldn't tell if it was guilt, confusion, or something else entirely. All I knew was that I needed space to breathe, to think, to figure out what was happening inside my own head before I dragged anyone else into it. So I spent the morning avoiding the common areas, staying in my room longer than usual, pretending to scroll through my phone while my thoughts spun in circles. When I finally stepped out to make coffee, Liam was already in the kitchen. He glanced up the moment he heard me, offering a small smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Morning." "Morning," I replied, grabbing a mug from the cabinet. There was a brief silence as he rinsed a dish and set it aside. Normally silence between us felt easy, but today it felt loaded, like both of us were pretending not to notice the shift from the night before. He must have sensed my discomfort, because after a moment he cleared his throat and said, "Hey, about yesterday." I didn't mean to make things weird. "You didn't," I said too quickly, too defensively. There's a lot going on." He nodded, not pushing. "I get it, really." I appreciated that about him. He never forced anything, never pried. But the guilt still sat heavy on my chest. It wasn't his fault. It wasn't even mine, entirely. It was the situation I'd been avoiding, the truth I'd been refusing to confront. By the afternoon, Mark finally called. My phone buzzed while I was at my desk, and when I saw his name, my heart tightened, not out of excitement, but out of something closer to dread. I answered anyway. "Hey," he said, sounding distracted, like he always did lately. "Sorry, I couldn't call last night. Things have been crazy here." "It's fine," I said automatically, even though it wasn't. He told me about work, deadlines, people I didn't know, things I couldn't visualize. I listened quietly, waiting for a pause so I could ask how he was doing. But when I did, he brushed it off in a few rushed words. It hit me then how long it had been since he asked me the same question. When I finally spoke, my voice felt small. "Mark, do you feel like we're still okay?" There was a long pause on the other end, long enough for me to hear my own heartbeat. "What do you mean?" He asked, but his tone wasn't curious, it was tired. "I mean, us," I said. "We barely talk anymore. I feel like I'm trying to hold on to something that's slipping." Another pause. Then, "I'm just busy, Ethan, you know that." "I do," I said softly. "But being busy isn't the same as being absent." He sighed, And it wasn't a frustrated sigh, it was the kind someone makes when they've run out of excuses. Maybe we've been forcing something that isn't working anymore. Hearing him say it out loud felt like a blow, but also like the truth I had been avoiding. I didn't cry. I didn't get angry. I just felt a quiet sadness settle over me. "Yeah," I whispered. "Maybe." We talked a few minutes more calmly, respectfully before agreeing to end things. When the call disconnected, I stared at the wall for a long time, feeling strangely empty and relieved at the same time. I didn't even hear Liam walk up until he spoke. "Ethan, you okay?" I turned to find him standing in the doorway, concern written clearly across his face. I must have looked shaken, because he stepped closer, then stopped himself like he wasn't sure if he should. I swallowed hard. "Mark and we broke up." His expression softened. "I'm sorry." "It's okay," I said, though my voice wavered. "It needed to happen." Liam hesitated again, then sat down across from me, not too close, not overstepping, just present in the way I'd come to rely on. "If you need anything, or if you want to talk, I'm here." For the first time all day, my chest loosened a little. I nodded. "Thank you." We stayed like that for a few minutes, quiet, calm, not trying to fill the silence. Eventually, Liam looked at me with a careful, searching expression. "Can I ask you something?" "Yeah," he exhaled softly. "Last night, did I make things harder for you?" "No," I said immediately, then paused. "Actually, you made me realize what I've been missing." He blinked, like he wasn't sure how to process that. "And what is that?" "Someone who makes me feel heard," I said. "Someone who actually shows up." The room felt still. Not tense, just honest. Liam didn't move closer or try to take advantage of the moment. Instead, he spoke gently. "I care about you, Ethan, more than I probably should. But I'm not going to rush you into anything. You just got out of something heavy." I nodded, grateful for his patience, his steadiness. "I'm not ready for anything right now," I admitted. "But I want to be honest. With you. And with myself." He smiled, not the playful grin I saw every day, but something softer, warmer. "Then we start there. We didn't touch. We didn't cross any lines. But something settled between us, quiet, hopeful, real. And for the first time in a long time, it felt like I was finally stepping towards something good."